Hello, welcome to Spotlight, an illuminated turnip lantern of imagination.
Spotlight, brought to you by the Isle of Man Arts Council.
This evening, we drop into a wonderful exhibition in Port St Mary and at last get to have a chat with gallery owner Eben. Hear how LitFest 23 went and their early plans for next year. And after a year's holiday, the poetry trail is back. Remember, do get in touch with any creative artistic endeavours you might be involved in, planning, hoping to create, would really like to put in this spotlight. Poetic, visual, theatrical, musical, literary, film, mime, and all the others I've no doubt forgotten. Just email spotlight@manxradio.com or howardkane@manxradio.com. I read them all, and I promise I'll get back one way or another. It'd be lovely to hear from you. So first off, we've been trying to get around all of the island's art galleries here on Spotlight over the last year or two, and up until now we still hadn't got round to Studio 42 in Port St Mary. But at last we have got there for a chat, and happily also for a wonderful exhibition. You can hear the background, busy exhibition here today. It is dropped down south to come and see the latest exhibition from the wonderful Eileen Schaer. I've managed to nab her very quickly because she's super busy today. Congratulations, Eileen. Looks absolutely fantastic.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm deeply grateful to Eben. He's put a wonderful show on. I'm really pleased.
It's gorgeous. How long since the last one here? Is it 2 years, 3 years?
This is 3 years, actually, yeah.
3 years. And but they were saying there was a gouache exhibition in between?
There wasn't there, about 2 years ago? There was of my gouaches under glass.
Going round, I know I was just overhearing someone saying, oh, there's quite a lot of Indian influence because there's elephants around the corner there are alligators, there are some more exotic animals as well as your cats and the dogs. Would you say there's an Indian influence to some pictures or not?
Well, perhaps. Who knows?
And
I don't analyse them. I like people to, have a think and experience them.
Yes, and I think that's exactly what you do experience them, because everyone sees something different.
Yeah.
But I know
bring their own stories to them.
Yes, I think that's true. And Eben, again, you've been exhibiting and showing Eileen's work for what, a goodly number of years?
Too many years now. 20 years next year.
And how did that relationship first come about with Eileen?
I just wore her down gradually. It's a war of attrition.
You must be
we're good friends now, so.
And you must be a fan as well of the work.
I am a big fan of her work, yeah. I've got 3 of her pieces myself, and I've got to ban myself slightly from buying any more, which is difficult when I run the shop.
It's not difficult today because they're virtually all gone.
No, I know, going like hotcakes. So, if you're interested, you'll need to get down to.
And what
do you sell for it?
And what do you see in them? Because it is true, as Eileen was just hinting at, they're always, I suppose, dreamlike, people sort of say. And you get 6 different people look at the same picture, and they might see 6 different things.
They're slightly mythical. They've got a folklore feeling, and they're very dreamy. Also, I find them really harmonious and joyful. There seems to be an embracing of life. And between different people and animals. I don't know, it's just very nice, very joyous, all-encompassing.
And just tell us a little bit about, because we've been meaning to have a little chat with you about Studio 42 down here. How long have you been here now?
20 years next year.
20
somehow.
Years?
Yes.
Well, I was thinking like 10, 15, but 20 years, gosh.
A few more grey hairs, maybe slightly big around the middle, but yeah, we're still here. We survived the pandemic, and we're doing okay for a small fishing village.
And it's lovely to have a little, because it's a lovely light airy space, and I suppose again a beautiful exhibition, as Eileen said today, beautifully set out of your works here today, Eileen. And it's nice, it's cosy, it's, like I say, it fits in with the village, it doesn't sort of stand out, but it's a wonderful opportunity to display some wonderful art here.
I really strive to make it a friendly place, approachable, that you can just come in and talk to me about work, because at the end of the day it's just pictures on a wall. It doesn't matter what people say or think about them. What do you think? Come and enjoy it for yourself. We don't like it to be too pretentious in here. It's compact and beige. There's nothing fancy about it. You just come in, have a chat and enjoy it.
And is Eileen a hard taskmaster then when it comes to your paintings? Does Eileen say, look, this is how I want them, or...?
Yes. Dictatorials speaks the mind. No, absolutely fine. All artists come with their own vision, and my job is to try and present it to the best level we can.
And it certainly is today. It is delightful. It's been busy since we've been here the last hour, Eileen, and you must be very happy with the way it's set out today.
Oh, I am. It's fabulous. Fabulous. And I love the way Evan paints the background colours to complement the paintings.
They do, exactly that. And one final question. It's busy, going to let you go now, but everyone always asks, how did you first start getting the technique where the paint seeps out of the frame and goes over onto...
It happened by accident about 40 odd years ago, and the frames become part of the painting, and that's what I always do.
And do the actual themes just come, as you say, the themes for the paintings, do they just literally come into your head before you start, or as you start to apply paint?
Basically, a little bit before I start, but they grow into something else. I don't know how they're going to end, really.
And I think that's the magic of them.
Exactly.
None of us do. Listen, it's a wonderful exhibition. I'll let you crack on. Thanks ever so much for talking to us.
You're welcome.
I know you don't really like doing it when you're busy, so thanks for spending the time. Thanks, Evan. Great to catch up with you eventually. And yes, keep it in touch, and hopefully we'll come down and take a look at some more exhibitions.
Pleasure. Thank you very much.
It's a terrific show. If you know Eileen's work, you know what to expect. Magical, seeping off the canvas or seeping out of the frame. It's wonderful stuff. If you don't know it, well, you're in for a treat. Though, as I said in the piece, if you're looking to own one for yourself, you might be out of luck this time. They were almost all sold within an hour or two of the exhibition opening. There might be one or two left if you're lucky. Go and take a look.
Spotlight, brought to you by the Isle of Man Arts Council.
Well, LitFest 23 is over for another year, but believe it or not, LitFest 24 already in the planning. I caught up with one of the festival directors, Helen Jessup, and asked her, does it feel like LitFest 23 is a distant memory already?
Slightly, yeah. It all sort of went past in a blur, and now it's all done and dusted, and you get that sort of like come down of, oh, it's happened. A year's worth of planning gone in a week, but very, very pleased with how it's gone, and we're all sort of really elated and keen to get on organising the next one now.
And that was what we were just chatting about, because, I mean, is it something which is, as we've said before, a bit like painting the Forth Bridge, albeit I believe they don't paint the Forth Bridge all year round these days, but I mean, as soon as 2023 is finished, only a few weeks past, is already 2024 on the cards? Do you have a sort of meeting first to sort of have a post-mortem, as it were, of how you felt 2023 went?
So we did have a meeting just earlier this week, and we all sort of sit around and we just discuss the events one by one, go what worked, what didn't work, what can we improve on for next year, what can we do the same because it went really well. So that's already happened, and straight into planning. We've got the dates for next year, which we're sitting on for a little bit longer, and already have 2 confirmed visitors.
Wow.
There, which is, again, secret just for now.
So, yeah, well, it's early doors, yet it has to be said. So what about then how it went for this year then? Can you sort of give us a little bit of a steer on some of the things you think went really well and some of the things you think might need a bit of tweaking, or whatever the case may be?
Well, obviously we did have a few sort of struggles with a couple of visitors, one who cancelled before the festival, and then another who the day before she was due to fly over ended up in hospital. So, you can't foresee all of the circumstances, and obviously it would be great to be able to change that for next year, but you can't, you just can't know what's going to happen. But in general terms, we're thrilled with how it went. We had 6 sold out events. We've done brilliantly, I think, this year. The committee worked really, really hard. They've been absolutely fantastic. They're taking a well-earned break now, but yeah, loads of things just went super. We had loads and loads of really good feedback. I've got around 8 pages of size 10 writing of feedback that people have written in and said how much they've enjoyed. And so the quiz was sold out, Writers' Day was sold out, the storytelling workshop sold out, Coasting with Elise, the last event, sold out. Everything just sort of fell into place. And again, we can't say more than that. People enjoyed it. They bought the tickets, they came along, and they said nice things.
And do you think the audience is changing you think you have a different audience now, or a sort of an evolving audience compared to a few years back?
So there's always a few familiar faces that we see coming along who have been coming along for the last few years. But there's definitely, some fresh blood coming into the audience. There's some younger people, and that's really, really good as well. We've had a few people come along this year who have said, 4 or 5 years ago, we were at school and an author came in sent by Manx LitFest and spoke to us, and I've been really interested in writing ever since. And now they're coming along to Writers' Day and taking part in workshops, and that's really, really fantastic that people have been influenced when they were younger and then coming along as sort of paying audience when they're older.
And what about because we were talking before the event, you were saying there were events like the tie-in with Fenoddery and the talking about spirits and such like, and this whole specialist market, I suppose, of writing about food and drink. It's a massive market in many ways. Is that something which you think can be grown?
Oh, we'd love to do another event like that, maybe with a food writer next, because it is, and if we can build that in with, a local producer as well, that's really, really good for us and them to build a relationship there of two Manx organisations. So we are very keen to do that. Unfortunately, this year the wind and the rain and the gale force and all of the trees coming down worked against us on that event, and we ended up with a smaller audience than we expected. It's just some people had bought tickets and then just couldn't make it because the police very unkindly said only go out if it's important.
Oh, and again, it's just one of those nightmares, isn't it? As you say, just as it is with people having health problems or such like, there's only so much you can do to protect against these things, but it's like organising a TT, isn't it? You can put everything into place, but if the weather doesn't play ball, then there's not a great deal you can do, really.
Absolutely. There's only so much we can plan for, and unfortunately acts of God is not one of them.
Not yet, any case. Poetry, always, like I said, a big thing on the Isle of Man. It's still a good market for that?
Massively. The poetry event, that's probably the one we've had the most positive feedback about this year. And the whole atmosphere of it was just brilliant. We had Jay Hume, who was the compere, and he just kept everyone included in everything. Everyone felt like they were part of something, even if they were just there to watch. All of the performers felt encouraged. He had such lovely things to say about everybody, kept the enthusiasm high. Lots of drum rolls and applauses, and it was just a really, really brilliant night. And one of the best pieces of feedback we've had from that is over and over people saying how inclusive it felt, how welcoming it felt. We had a good scotch of people attend to perform who had never done any performing of their poetry before, and they'd said it was really nice to step out of their comfort zone, but in an environment where they felt that they could do that and there wasn't going to be, any embarrassment or anything, because everyone's poetry was so different that it didn't matter if one person sort of felt like, oh, this is maybe something that is a bit darker, or this one's a bit more upsetting, or this one's a funny one. It was a real big mix, and we're really, really pleased with how it went, because we weren't quite sure with the new style poetry event how it would go. And having the poetry on display as well sort of led a lot of people to go and look up local poets as well and find their work and speak to them about it. So it was just a really, really wonderful event that we're really, really pleased with, and that's definitely something we're going to look to try and continue to do over the next few LitFests.
So plenty of good positive feedback. Anything you're thinking, this was good, but we could tweak it maybe a little bit better?
We would always like to get more young people and schools involved. I think that's our big aim, is to try and get into more schools and get out to more young people than we have done previously. And a lot of that is about building relationships with the schools and with the department, and everything has sort of slowed down a bit since COVID, building back up after those 2 years off. So we have lost a few relationships, and that's the real aim, is to build up relationships again with various Manx departments and businesses, and hopefully just build on what we've done this year.
And as you suggested at the beginning there, already the work is underway for 2024.
It never stops. I think you just have that such a big adrenaline rush afterwards that immediately I was like, right, that was amazing. Okay, who can we get for next year? And started sending the emails out while you're still riding that high. Because give it a couple of weeks, I'm going to be exhausted and I'm no longer going to be riding the high quite as much. And I'm not going to want to send out 30 emails a week anymore. So, strike while the iron's hot.
Absolutely. And just finally then, any personal highlights for you? I know from what you're saying, and obviously you're involved in everything, but is there anything you as yourself really, really enjoyed?
I always enjoy getting to meet the people that we bring across. It's always such a privilege to be able to get to speak to people who are working in the industry and have a really good grasp on what they're doing and can share all their wisdom. But speaking to people who are on the Isle of Man, writing, creating, and building up a community of people, that's the most important thing, I think. And that's what I enjoy over Writers' Day, getting to talk to these people, and they're going, well, I started writing a couple of years ago when I retired, and now I'm going to try and write all these children's books, or I found out that my grandfather fought at such and such a battle, and I want to find out more about him and write a biography, and things like that. That's where sort of the magic happens, is this community of creatives and writery people coming together and getting to meet one another.
The work goes on, as they say. No doubt LitFest 24 will be here before we know it. Finally this week, sharpen your pencils, garner your best poetic thoughts. The Poetry Trail is back, a wonderful thing to behold. And now's the time to get writing. Chair of Isle of Man Poetry Society, Bethany DeLee Runciman, told me more.
The Poetry Trail is on, it's open for entries now, but it's going to run in February 2024. It's going to be the 10th Poetry Trail that's been done.
Wow.
The first two were done by Ruth Baxendale, who was the previous chairperson of the Poetry Society, and I took it on in 2015. So we've done now 10 of them. It's a poetry competition. That's all it is, really. So the closing date for entries is the 1st of December, and I just need people to write a poem that is 25 lines or less, the less being better, because it has to fit onto an A4 page to be on display, so it has to fit comfortably on the page. So I'm looking for any poems. Again, the theme can be anything, but be mindful it is going to go on public display. So a short poem, closing date 1st of December. What happens then is we have two judges who are going to judge for 10 winning poems. Ruth Baxendale and Muriel Garland, and they will let me know the winners by about Christmas time. On the 3rd of February next year, we will launch the 10th Isle of Man Poetry Trail. So we have a do at St George's Church in Douglas, where the poets read out their winning poems, and we also have more poems as well from people. And then a week later, 10th of February, the poems will be up in Douglas for a month. I'm just using 10 poems this year, so I'm not going to Ramsey or Port Erin. We're just concentrating on mainly the High Street in Douglas and the Sea Terminal. I've got a couple of new places who would like to be involved and display a poem as well. All the poems get listed in a little trail guide that you can pick up from the Douglas Library, and that will guide you around the trail, and you can see which poets and poems are on. I have to say a big thank you to Tony Garland, because he has designed all the poems onto the posters, and they look absolutely fantastic. They're all bright yellow, so they're easily visible. Tony's been working with us for 10 years, I think, so it's really good of him to do this.
And it always looks, you're right, they always look very eye-catching, very lovely. It's terrific fun. The poems themselves, as you say, it doesn't have to be about the Isle of Man or about Douglas. It doesn't have to be serious or funny. It can be pretty much anything, so long as it fits those parameters.
Yes, that's fine, yeah. It's really the length, because I have some lovely poems sent to me each year, which are like 2 pages long, and obviously can't, it's just too long. But we've had poems about everything, I think, from the Isle of Man, even a poem about dog poo once, which didn't win.
Shame.
Yeah. So it can be, it doesn't have to rhyme, it can rhyme. Yes, the judges are looking for eye-catching poems that inspire you or are very enjoyable to read, that sort of thing. That because people walking along the high street, and it needs to be something that will, I'll have a read of this, and we'll go and read it. Yeah.
And do you normally get a good breadth of poetry sent in from, are there sort of regulars, or do you get some new faces coming in for the poetry trail?
We have our regulars, and they're really good, but we do have new people coming in, I encourage them. The poems are judged anonymously, so I will assign a number and a letter to poems, so the judges don't know who's written what. Sometimes the judges may be able to see, I think that's from that poet, but usually they can't. And I encourage all new poets, as long as you're 18 years or over, to enter. The entry forms, I'm going to leave entry forms in libraries around the island. I also have an email address, poetry at manxcat.org.uk, and that, if you email me, I will send out entry forms.
And is there a charge for entering, for putting your entry in?
There is, £4 per poem. We have the support of Manx Lottery Trust, but it's still good to have some money in the pot, really, to cover expenses like printing. Yeah.
Of course, because it is an expensive business these days. It's terrific fun. It's lovely to see it back again after a year off, and I think you deserve a year off, because you're always busy doing something. You never seem to have a quiet moment, because whenever I see you're involved with something, busy with something. Terrific to see it back again. Great fun. It's lovely to see the poems up. A great way to, as you say, particularly if you haven't written much before, get it out there, and the joy of seeing it up in a public place for other people to read is wonderful, isn't it?
Yeah. We have a poetry pop-in session once a month at the Archibald Knox pub, and we're in the meeting room, and people bring their poems, and we have a lovely evening where people read their poem out, and we always have positive critique, and just talk about the world as well in general. So that's a good way for new poets, if you're not sure about your poems, or you're not sure that you want to go to an open mic, come and join us on a Sunday evening. It's usually the third Sunday in the month, and come along and enjoy just some poetry with some really nice poets.
And I know the Poetry Society are a great believer in this. Poetry is for all. It's not just for people who are academics or well versed in English literature. It can be for everyone, and should be for everyone.
It is. There's no rules in poetry. There's not a wrong poem and a right poem. It comes from your heart. It's how you feel, and everybody's different, which is the joy of actually the poetry trail, because you just get so many different poems.
Just give us that closing date again, though, so people can put it in the diaries.
Yeah, it's Friday 1st of December. If you want to enter, send an email to poetry@manxcat.org.uk. That's all in lower letters. I can be contacted by phone as well if you want to text 481792.
What are you waiting for? Get writing now. That's about it for this week. Don't forget, if you want to hear anything again, go to manxradio.com, download the Spotlight podcast, listen where and when you want. Why not try it whilst bobbing apples? Just make sure your earbuds are waterproof. See you next week, when we'll be hearing all about Crucible, a wonderful new exhibition. Until then, look after yourselves, and whatever you're doing, be creative about it. Cheerio.